Jules was born in a suburb of France. His father was a coach for a local football team, while his mother was a former volleyball player. While his father dreamed of Jules becoming a talented footballer, his mother wanted to guide him to follow in her footsteps and become a volleyball player. However, Jules was not interested in football or any other sport during his childhood. He was more of a child who ran and played in the streets of the neighborhood and was always up to mischief. This situation was quite annoying for his family, because Jules was not a very bright student at school either. He was often scolded by his teachers and failed in his lessons. He was known as the most naughty boy in the class and did not get along with his friends. Especially when the exam results came home, his father would look at him with deep sighs and his mother with silent disappointment. His parents were worried about his future. Neither football nor school was Jules's interest. Most of the time at dinner, the topic always came to the same place: what will become of this boy? But one day, everything started to change. At the age of 10, Jules developed an unexpected interest in football. He started going to his father's training sessions. At first, he would sit on the sidelines and watch. Then gradually he started to touch the ball. At first it seemed like an ordinary game, but over time it became his passion. He took the ball at every opportunity and trained in the garden, in the park, everywhere. But school life was still difficult. His teachers did not take kindly to his new interest in football. He continued to fail in class and often drifted off during lessons. He was ostracized by other students. Especially the new house and school they moved to were a disappointment for Jules. She had a hard time making friends and was constantly ostracized by the popular kids in her class. Even the other kids in his neighborhood did not want to include him in their games. They always left him on the sidelines during football matches, acting as if he never existed. This situation affected Jules deeply, but he never showed it to anyone. One day, when Jules was again excluded from the football match, he started passing the ball to the wall without attracting anyone's attention. Every time he kicked the ball, he let out his anger and loneliness. While the other children were having fun on the pitch, he was playing alone. Meanwhile, the physical education teacher noticed him. He felt something inside him, as if there was a potential in this lonely boy. In the middle of the match, he walked towards the pitch and asked the other boys, "Why don't you play Jules?" The boys couldn't say anything. Everyone's eyes turned to Jules. The coach asked Jules, "Which team do you want to play for?" Jules shrugged hesitantly. It seemed like no team wanted him. There was a silence. No one wanted Jules on their team. Finally, the coach put him on a random team and the game continued. The boys put him directly in goal. Jules didn't want to be a goalkeeper, but he had no choice. As soon as the match started, the opposing team started attacking one after the other. Jules's team was already 3-0 down, and when he went in goal, the score was 5-0. He conceded every goal that came his way. Everyone was looking at Jules angrily, but he thought there was nothing he could do. 20 minutes before the end of the match, a boy from Jules's team got tired. The boy's tiredness was an opportunity for Jules. The tired boy called out to him, "Hey, new kid, I'm tired. You get out of the goal, I'll pass." This was a great opportunity for Jules. He wanted to get out of the net, have a chance to play in front of everyone, and most importantly, impress the girls in the class. She immediately went out on the field, and even though her teammates didn't trust her, she decided to make the most of her opportunity. When the ball came to Jules, she ran with incredible speed from her own goal to the opposing goal. Everyone watched in amazement. He was traveling so fast with the ball that it was as if he was racing with the wind. When he passed all his opponents and faced the goalkeeper, he sent the ball into the net with a stylish overhand shot. Everyone was shocked. They couldn't understand where such a fast player had come from. Jules scored 2 more goals in quick succession. One was a fierce shot from distance, the other a marvelous goal from a free kick. Jules was the talk of the field. At the end of the match, everyone was in awe of him. Even the girls in the class were looking at him with great interest. The first question he was asked after the match, "Which team do you play for?" Jules answered embarrassedly, "I don't play for any team. In fact, Jules had never thought of becoming a footballer, but the praise he received made him think deeply. After that unforgettable school match, Jules returned home with dreams of becoming a footballer. As he sat quietly at dinner, a thought was running through his mind. Can I be a footballer? He remembered that his father ran an amateur club. This could be an opportunity for him. Determined, he turned to his father and told him that he wanted to be a footballer. His father was delighted that Jules was interested. At last, his son was interested in football. He smiled and said to him, "You're lucky, because I'm coaching a team. I'll take you to training tomorrow." The next morning, Jules went with his father to the field. There were large expanses of grass, professional footballers, and coaches walking around. This environment was new and fascinating for Jules. He had only played ball in alleyways and on narrow concrete pitches. Playing on a real grass pitch was going to be a real test for him. The first training sessions were quite challenging for Jules. He couldn't keep up with the speed and technique of the big players on the pitch. He had difficulty controlling the ball and was slow in positions. The other players looked at him with contempt and thought that he had joined the team with his father's favor. Jules knew what they thought, but he felt he had to be patient to change it. Every time he lost a ball, the looks of his teammates grew colder and demoralized him. His father was professional towards Jules. He did not give him any privileges because he was his son. He treated Jules the same way he treated other players. When Jules started training with his father's team, Raphael Dubois, an experienced player on the left wing, was almost the backbone of the team. Dubois was seen as one of the most important players in the team, and the fact that Jules was playing in his position made things even more difficult. The biggest obstacle for Jules was being overshadowed by a strong and fast player with years of experience like Dubois. Everyone in the team thought that it was almost impossible to replace Dubois, and it was a big challenge for Jules. He went to training every day with great excitement, trying to do his best. He would arrive early in the morning, start warming up before everyone else, and in the evening, when the other players were leaving the pitch, he was still practicing his passing and shooting. He had only one goal in mind: one day to replace Dubois and make a name for himself in the team. However, this process would be much more difficult than he thought. The fact that his father was the coach, although it seemed like an advantage for Jules, actually created a great pressure. His father never gave him any favoritism and treated Jules the same way he treated other players. Sometimes he was even more distant to Jules because he was his son. For his father, justice was more important than anything else. That's why Jules didn't expect any favor from his father, but he still worked hard to prove himself. Although he tried to show how talented he was in training, he was overshadowed by Dubois and could not find enough chances. One day during training, something unexpected happened. Raphael made a hard tackle on the ball during a position and fell badly. Suddenly, there was silence on the pitch. His teammates and the technical staff rushed to his side. Raphael was holding his knee, writhing in pain. It was clear that he would be out for the rest of the season. This was a big blow for the team because the crucial games of the season were coming up and they had no alternative players to play on the left wing. His father, together with the other coaches, took stock of the situation. At that moment, Jules had a great opportunity. His father and the coaching staff decided to put Jules on the pitch as the player to fill the gap on the left wing. Jules's heart was beating fast. Jules, who had always been a substitute, was going to be part of the team for the first time and would have the chance to prove himself. That day, training ended quietly after Raphael Dubois was injured. Everyone had the same thing on their minds. Next week, they would face one of the toughest opponents in the league, and Dubois, the backbone, captain, and leader of the team, would not be on the pitch. This was a big shock for the team. The opponent, ranked third in the league, was the most informed team of recent times and was attracting attention all over the league with the football they played every week. The absence of Dubois created a big gap in the morale of the team. Everyone was unhappy. It was as if the energy in the team was exhausted. The absence of Dubois was not just the absence of a player, it felt like the team had lost its soul. But all this negativity had a different meaning for Jules. When the training session was over, his teammates left the pitch with heavy steps and went to the dressing room. Everyone was tired and demoralized by Dubois' injury. But for Jules, the day wasn't over yet. He decided to stay on the field. He had only one thought in his head: to improve and prepare for this match in the best way possible. The field gradually emptied. The sun was about to set, and the sky had turned red. The wind was blowing gently, and a soft breeze was blowing over the grass. Jules savored this silence. He was alone on the field at that moment. Everyone had left, but Jules stayed. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. This was his moment. The first thing he did was to start training for speed and agility. He set up running tracks on his own, doing repeated sprints to increase his speed. At the end of each sprint, he pushed himself as if he were battling imaginary opponents, trying to overtake them. His speed was increasing with each passing minute. He ran until he ran out of breath, and although he was tired, he did not stop. He was constantly setting a goal for himself. I have to be a little faster. He was pushing his limits every time. It was as if there were imaginary opponents around him and he was passing them one by one. Then he started practicing ball control. He was slowly dribbling with the ball, moving as if he had the ball at his feet and passing the defenders. He focused on keeping the ball at his feet as he moved from one corner of the pitch to the other. With each step, he turned the ball in a different direction, maneuvering quickly as if there was an opponent on the field. It was like a dance for Jules, not just a training session. His harmony with the ball was increasing with each passing minute. He seemed to become part of the ball. Then he started practicing his shooting. From various places in the penalty area, he hit the ball hard and aimed for the goal. But with each shot, he pushed himself harder. He used all his strength to hit the ball with more accuracy and power. Every time he found the net, he felt a sense of triumph. With each shot, he took a stronger step forward, feeling as if he was moving towards victory in that match. He kicked hard at the goal, then lifted the ball into the air and attempted overpasses. Each time he scored, he felt stronger and more ready. He continued to work doggedly until his feet tired and his knees gave out. But Jules was not only preparing himself physically, but also mentally. At one point in training, he stopped on the pitch, took a deep breath, and looked around. He closed his eyes and started to visualize the big game. He was on the pitch, on the left wing, feeling the ball at his feet. He was passing the opposing players, and he was heading towards the goal. In his imagination, he was playing that match over and over again, visualizing every position in his head. He was passing the rival defense, facing the goalkeeper, and finding the ball in the net. He was writing countless scenarios in his head, as if he was reliving every moment of that match. He was constantly whispering to himself, "This will be my moment." That night, as Jules drove home, he was tired, but at the same time at peace. He knew he had done everything he could, but it was not over for her. At home, his father was just as hard on him. As he was also his coach, he often reminded him that he had to make the most of this opportunity. Even at home, there was constant talk of football. Every dinner conversation was about the next training session. His father really wanted Jules to do well in this match. He gave him more responsibility, analyzed his every move, and warned him every time he made a mistake. His father was not afraid to be hard on him, because he did not want Jules to miss this opportunity. During that week, Jules prepared for the match both physically and mentally. He went to training early in the morning and worked late into the evening. His father gave him extra training sessions, trying to push him a little harder every day. Jules put in more effort every day, taking every opportunity to get better. It was no longer just a match for Jules. It was the most important turning point of his life. He didn't want to miss this opportunity. As the days progressed, the excitement and motivation in Jules grew more and more as the moment of the big match approached. Finally, the match day arrived. For Jules, it would be the first game of his career where he would start in the starting 11. He had worked hard and prepared himself for this moment. He had been telling his father Wilfried the same thing for days. "I'll make a difference in this game, Dad. Maybe I'll score a hat trick. You'll see. I'll be the best on the pitch." Although this statement reflected Jules's belief in himself, he was also carrying a great deal of excitement and anxiety. Although he tried to be confident, a little voice inside him reminded him how difficult this match would be. It was an away match that day, and as they were heading towards the opposing team's field, everyone was talking on the team bus. Jules was listening to the dialogues between his teammates while looking out the window. The topic was the opposing team's right back. One of the most experienced players of the team turned to Jules with a slightly sarcastic tone and said, "Hey Jules, the opposing team's right back is one of the best right backs in the league. You have to be careful. He's 33 years old, a man of experience. You think you can beat someone that old? You're only 18. For a moment, fear gripped Jules. He remembered what he knew about the old and experienced right back. Adam was not only fast, but also highly technical and cool-headed. His defensive positioning was excellent, and he was one of the best in the league, especially when it came to tackling. He never gave his opponents easy chances, and as a defender he was known to be almost impossible to beat. What chance did Jules have against this player? After a moment of hesitation, Jules pulled himself together. He turned to his teammates and said with a determined look on his face, "He should be afraid of me. I think I've improved a lot in the last week." His teammates looked at each other with a slight smile and replied sarcastically, "You've been training seriously for a week, but that guy has been training at this level for years. What do you think your chances are?" Jules didn't let these words discourage him, but the pressure he felt inside grew. It was clear that there was jealousy among his teammates. The fact that Jules's father, Wilfried, was the coach had led to rumors among the players that Jules was playing for favorites. Everyone thought that he was in the starting 11 because he was his father's son. This jealousy and sarcasm made the burden on Jules' shoulders even heavier. Just then, Wilfred, noticing the rising tension on the bus, intervened and said in a calm voice, "Everyone should focus on their own game. Our opponent is strong, but we are ready. Everyone will go out there and give their best performance," Wilfried said in a calm voice. Jules's gaze turned to his father. His father trusted him and stood behind him. This support reignited the determination in Jules. When the bus finally arrived in front of the rival stadium, Jules's heart began to beat rapidly. As soon as he stepped off the bus, the rival fans' enthusiastic chants shook the stadium. For Jules, the noise felt like the stadium was about to collapse. The voices rising from the stands were ringing in his ears. The rival fans were shouting with great confidence for their team, as if they were sure that they would win at home. The match started, and Jules found the first few minutes on the pitch more difficult than he had expected. The first few times the ball came to him, the opposing right back was immediately at his side. Jules tried to move with the ball, but the experienced right back would immediately intervene and steal the ball. Every time, he would get in front of Jules, anticipating his movements. Whenever he got the ball, he either lost it or ruined the attack. Early in the first half, Jules was falling apart. The opposition fans quickly realized he was a novice. Every time he lost the ball, the boos from the stands demoralized Jules even more. Every booing further undermined his self-confidence. It was as if everything on the field was against him. The more he tried to show his speed and skills, the worse things got. This situation pulled him back even more, and his self-confidence collapsed. By the end of the first half, the scoreboard read 2-0. Jules's performance was a disaster. On his way to the dressing room, he walked slowly with his head down. He had only one thought in his head: "I'm losing this game." When they entered the dressing room, everyone was silent. His teammates were unhappy. The demoralization was evident on their faces. Jules sat in a corner, staring at the floor. His father, Wilfred, took charge of the team and got everyone's attention. There was a quiet tension in the dressing room. Wilfred spoke in a calm but determined voice. "Everyone has made a great effort so far. We have to forget the first half. We only lack belief. Jules, your first game. You struggled, but look. Every great player has difficult moments. Now it's about coming back and fighting. Forget the first half. Go out there and enjoy your game. I know you're going to turn this game around. Now go out there and show yourself." Jules saw the confidence in her father's eyes. The fear in him slowly gave way to determination. He took a deep breath, turned to her teammates, and said with determination, "We're going to win this game." Everyone looked at him. It was as if hope had suddenly been revived in them. During this period, Jules's mind was always on his father. His father Wilfried was his biggest supporter. Talks with his father always gave him strength. He needed his father's guidance to return to his old days, to be the old Jules on the field. When his father told him, "I always believed in you, you can do the best on the field," Jules found the strength to stand up again. Finally, after a long wait, he got his chance in a cup match. For Jules that day, it was make or break. When he stepped on the pitch, he played with all his ambition and talent. He worked wonders throughout the match, scoring 3 goals and assisting 1. That day, Jules's return to the pitch was recognized by everyone. It was as if the old Jules had come back to life. Thanks to his father's advice and faith, Jules had found himself again. After this match, Jules started to get more minutes in the team. At first he was coming on as a substitute, but his performance on the pitch soon earned him a place in the starting 11. He became an indispensable player on the left flank of PSG. He shone week after week and was one of the players who decided the outcome of the matches. 3 years later, when Jules turned 21, he was a recognized star not only in France but worldwide. His value had risen, and he was on the transfer radar of many big clubs. But the biggest achievement for Jules was that he had realized his dream. He was now recognized as one of the best left-wingers in the world. But he always had a burning desire to do better, and that's the story of Jules. From his starting point to the top, he reached his dreams thanks to his determination and hard work. His story is a proof of what perseverance and endeavor can achieve. He showed the world how a footballer who believes in himself and works hard can become a star in the football world. If you liked the story, don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video. Take care.